Hey, in this video, I'm going to show you how to run multiple SvelteKit apps using the Node adapter on the same domain. We'll go through the setup in the app and how to configure it on an Apache web server. So why would you want to do this? Maybe you don't want to buy a domain for each of the apps you make, or you don't want to deal with maintaining a bunch of subdomains, or maybe there's just a business requirement for that type of setup. Either way, it's fairly easy to do even with an existing app, so let's get to it. We're going to have 3 apps running in our example. The main app we're going to use as a place to reach all the other apps, like a homepage or a dashboard. We'll also have a bill planner app and a calendar app. These will all be running under the domain slateapp.dev, but as you can see, the other 2 apps will be running in a subdirectory. For our main app, I'm going to use the app we ended up with in our server setup tutorial, but even if you didn't watch that video, this is just the minimal SvelteKit app you get when following Svelte's getting started instructions for VS Code. We'll be doing the setup again for the other 2 apps, so don't worry, you'll see the process again. You can tell from the terminal our app is called app and lives in the C apps directory. Let's run the app and make sure it's still working. To run the app locally, you just type npm run dev. Control-click on the link to open it. And here's our basic SvelteKit app running on our local machine. And here's the same app running on our Apache web server using our own domain. Now going back to the code, let's change up the page and give it a red color for the header. And let's change the wording so it's clear we're on the main app. We'll eventually have links to our other apps on this page, so let's make a placeholder for that. And here's the result. Now we're going to create our bill planner app. To do that, let's just go back one directory in our terminal, so we're in C apps, and then run the code npx sv create bill app to create a new app called bill app. This is the script Svelte provides through npm, and you can check out the instructions for it on their website. The script has a few questions we need to answer, so we'll choose the minimal app, select that we're using TypeScript, add the Tailwind CSS so we can easily style it, choose no plugins, and npm for the package manager. Once that's done, we'll cd into that new folder, and we'll open that folder in VS Code by typing code-n period. The new app will open in a new window, and before we forget, let's change the directory of our main app back to C apps and then the app folder, as we still need to run commands in there later. In our new app, let's open up the terminal and install our dependencies. We'll need to set a different port for this app so it doesn't conflict with the main app. If we run the main app again, you'll see we manually set that port to 5173, and we did that in the byte.config file by adding this server block. I'm going to copy that and put it in our bill planner app as well, but change the port to 5174. We also need to use the Node adapter in our examples. So if we look up the Node instructions on the SvelteKit website, we'll see that we need to run this npm installer. And then we also need to change the svelte.config file to specify the Node adapter instead of the auto adapter. Then we can run our app to test that it works. Let's do the same style header for the bill app. We can easily copy and paste that, then change the color and the wording. And here's the 2 apps now running on different ports. Now, in order to get ready to run this in the same domain on our server, we need to tell Svelte that we want a different base path. And we do that in the Svelte config file under a paths block. This base path will basically append that directory to the end of our app, as you can see if we restart it. It now says /billapp after the port. One thing you need to be aware of when doing this is that any links or redirects in your app will need to have the base path added to them. So for example, if we had a link to a login page, we couldn't do /login anymore. We now have to insert the base path in front of that URL like this. Also make sure you're importing app paths and not something else that uses the same name. Now let's do the same for our calendar app. We'll go one directory back, run the code to create a calendar app, pick the same setup options, and open the app in VS Code. And back on our bill planner app, we'll change it to the right folder again. In the calendar app, we'll install dependencies, install the node adapter, and set our port to 5175 in the Vite config, and set our base path to /calendar app. We'll also change the homepage to match the other apps, but with a different color and title. And now we can run that app to make sure it works. And you'll see they're all on different ports, and the two apps are running under different base paths in the URL. Finally, we'll go back to our main app and add 2 links to our other apps. I'm using Tailwind classes to make styling it faster. We'll give them matching backgrounds, white text, and some padding. Next, we'll set up our server. To get the files over, we first need to run npm run build on all 3 apps. If we check out our server in the meantime, you'll see our HTML directory only has the folder for our main app currently, so we'll need to make directories for the other 2 apps. Next, we'll use WinSCP to transfer the build files to the server. We'll start with the main app, which lives in the app folder. I'm going to copy the build directory that was created along with the package.json and lock file. Then we'll do the same for the build planner app and the calendar app. Here we were missing the build folder for the calendar app, and it's because we forgot to change the adapter to Node from auto. So we just need to go do that and rebuild, and then copy the files over. Back in the terminal for the server, we need to cd into each app and do npm install on the server as well. This will install the dependencies there too. Now let's check out the current Apache config for the main app. Here we have it set up for a single app, proxying all the requests to port 5173. In order to have it forward to other apps based on the directory in the URL, that base path we did, we just need to add more proxy pass lines before the root one that we currently have. Then when Apache sees someone is trying to reach that directory, it'll forward it to the specified port, and those different ports will have separate node apps running on them. Just make sure on here to match the port for the app to the Vite config file, and match the directory to the base path. Save the file using Ctrl-X and Y to confirm, and then test the config file using Apache2 config test. In order for the node apps to actually run, we're going to use a service in Linux. We already set up a service for our main app in the server setup video, but basically you specify the port, the directory of the Svelte app build folder, and the path to where Node is installed on the server. Enabling and running this file using systemctl ensures the Node server is always running in the background. Our other 2 apps will need a service as well, so we can easily just copy our main app's service file and edit them. When editing it, just make sure to change the name, specify the port we set up for that app, and change the build folder location. Once those are done, you need to run daemon reload, enable each service, and start or restart them. And finally, we'll restart Apache as we made changes to the config a little bit ago. Now we can check out the apps to make sure they work. Here's our main app that lists our sub-apps, and if we click on the link, it takes us to that app, which just appears as a different directory in the URL. The neat thing about these is that they are completely separate Node Svelte apps. This means they can be brought down or updated separately from each other, which is really neat. So if one app crashes, it won't affect the others. Yet they are all on the same website as far as the user knows. If you have any questions about this, please let me know in the comments, and thanks for checking this out.